And it's time for us to say good morning, Anthea. And thank you so much for your time. Hope you had a great weekend.
Good morning, Jonathan. I've had a great weekend and hope you did too.
Thank you so much. Anthea, recently we received a WhatsApp message from somebody who wished to remain anonymous, but this person was crying out and saying, please, 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 can you pray? Can you pray for my daughter? Can you pray for the situation? The long and the short of it, and I'm paraphrasing the WhatsApp message, the person was saying that my daughter is currently writing her Matric final exams, but is caught in a very toxic friendship with a boy who has recently hurt her deeply. And that's why we reached out to you, because as you head up the counselling department at Focus on the Family Africa, it's important for us to talk about relationships and the impact that they can have at times like this in the year where children are writing exams and so forth. How do we deal with a situation like that as parents, as adults?
Absolutely, Jonathan. And we really do receive quite a few calls yearly from parents who really reach out for help for their daughters or sons that actually are suicidal, only to hear that they've had a recent breakup with a boyfriend or girlfriend. And so, as we all know, to speak into your question, is that Matric is a really important year. It's a critical year in a young person's life. And we also know that there's so much going on with young people emotionally, physically, socially, and intellectually as well, with the pressure to also perform and do well in their Matric year, because we know that year affects them lifelong. So it's really important to prioritize, and be focused for the young person. And so for parents to really speak through with that young person about their priorities. So priority is really whatever we give our time, energy, and attention to. And the outcome of putting that time, energy, and attention to whatever it is. So, if we're going to put all our time and energy and attention into a relationship, what is going to be the outcome of that? As opposed to if our Matric year is a priority and studying for exams is a priority, and we give time and adequate attention and energy into that, what is going to be the outcome of that? And so there's two different things if we look at it. And so as we know, as a 17-year-old or 16-year-old or 18-year-old writing Matric, their brains are not yet fully developed. The part of the brain that is responsible for their thinking, their reasoning, making decisions in relationships, teens often don't understand the consequences of their decisions. And they often can't see it because there is an illusion in a toxic relationship, which is what I want to speak into. And as we all know, toxic relationships can be hell on earth. It really is a cycle that is destructive, that is repetitive and manipulative. And often the young person can't see the consequences that are long term. So as parents, as teachers, as anyone working with young people, it's really important for an adult to speak into those consequences, to really explain the consequences of their decisions of that toxic relationship, so that they don't just make decisions without looking at the consequences. So that's really the first point that's really important, because as we know, these are vulnerable young minds that we really need to shape, mold, and need constant healthy input from an adult. And so we know that young people are also seeking love because of a lack. And I did a study last year, Jonathan, and what I found is that young people are also entering into relationships when they are really vulnerable and when they are emotionally not in a healthy place. So that's also really important, and it's a red flag for teens entering into a toxic relationship. And so parents and adults really need to be hands-on emotionally, especially during exam time, Matric year, that they provide that emotional support, that they ensure that there is no emotional lack in that young person's life, that then is going to leave that young person vulnerable into a relationship that is toxic. And so focus is really important. Priorities is really important so that a young person can do well in Matric.
Sure.
Anthea, that's quite a lot of points that you have just touched on. And something that we also want just to unpack a bit on is the motherhood. So can you maybe speak to us more about that?
Absolutely. So, in talking about the lack that young people have and the illusion of love, because what often it is that young people are getting into a relationship that may not be healthy for them. It may not be a conducive relationship, but because they're falling in love with the idea of love and not with the real person. And so they're often, when young people enter into relationships, they cannot see the full or the real person, because everyone puts themselves as the best person forward, or when you first meet someone. And for a young person, they're entering in with their heart and their being, their full being, thinking that it's going to bring something that they are probably looking for, which it probably is actually going to leave them more damaged than filling that gap. And so I'm hoping that it makes sense. So in terms of entering relationships, in terms of wounding, where we talk about the mother wound, a mother wound is really a young person that has not had that love from a mom, or has not had that love from a dad. And we know that in South Africa, if we want to really bring it home, there are 60% of children that grow up without both a dad and a mom in the home, which means that there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of feeling of unworthiness of even receiving love. So for a young person looking for love, they are probably going to be very guarded, or they're going to be very worried or feel unsafe, or they're going to be quickly attached to a person for fear of abandonment, because of just that needing to seek attention that they did not get as a child.
Sure. There is so much more that we could definitely unpack, Anthea, but what you've touched on already is just profound. And we want to just say thank you. Thank you for that, for taking the time. I think, again, going down to what you were just saying about love, to understand and to make sure that your child is feeling loved. And then again, if you are a young person and you're struggling with feelings of, I'm not feeling loved, to reach out to those around you and to say, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm experiencing. Use your words. And so helpful. Anthea, for those who are struggling and maybe wanting to connect with the Focus on the Family Africa Counseling Department, how do they connect? How do they get some advice? How do they get some counseling?
So, Jonathan, what they can do is they can go onto our website. We have a counseling form. So even if they want to be anonymous, and it's really up to them how much they want to share and disclose, and they can just even request a call back or email us. So they can go into our website, which is www.safamily.co.za, or they can email us at counselling. That's counseling with 2 L's. Counseling at fotf.co.za, or they can also call us on 031 716 3300. And it really is important to reach out for help, because if your teen is not talking to you, they do need to be talking to someone that can give them critical input in a really important year in their lives.
Oh, that is so on point. Anthea Nagoor, thank you so much for chatting to us. Such an honor and a privilege. And thank you to you and the rest of the Focus on the Family team for the amazing work that you guys do. We really appreciate it.
Thank
God bless you.
Thank you.